But today we're talking about streaming, specifically having a beginner's guide to streaming. Definitely encourage everyone to take notes because I'll be covering a lot of details. I'm going to try to keep it relatively on the shorter side, so there's plenty of time for questions at the end. So if you do have any questions that come up or that you think of while I'm talking, feel free to throw those in chat as well. We'll get to as many of those as possible. So, step number one, if you're wanting to be a streamer, is your setup. You want to make sure that you have the hardware to handle what it is that you're wanting to do. There's a lot of different things that you can get to help your streaming. You can spend an absolute fortune on equipment, or you can spend very little on equipment. It really just depends on getting what you need for what you're trying to present. So, for a lot of people, they like to stream video games. One of the best ways to do that, especially if you have a computer that maybe can't handle all the latest games, or maybe you're just on like a regular laptop and it can't really run a whole lot of games, is with consoles. Most of the modern consoles have HDMI ports on them for the output, and you can use something called a capture card to run an HDMI cord from your console to the card, and then from there to your TV and to your computer. Um, Usually, from the card to the computer is a USB cord, and that will allow you to capture, as the name suggests, the video and audio from your console and get it into your stream. There are a couple of little tricks with that, with lining up the audio and timing just right, that you have to worry about. But once you get that figured out, capture cards make streaming video games super, super simple. There's a lot of big brand names out there for them and a lot of generic brand names. I've used a generic one in the past and it was perfectly fine. But I know there are some other brand name ones that make it even easier. So that's something to consider if you're wanting to do video games. Also, you want to look at the CPU and GPU for your computer to make sure it's big enough to handle the content that you're wanting to push out, especially if you're going to do PC games and streaming at the same time. And for anybody that doesn't know, the CPU is your processor. Basically, you're wanting to look for just about any modern processor should be able to handle most of what you're wanting to do. I don't have specific spec recommendations for that. Just something that's relatively recent should be enough to handle whatever it is you're trying to do, unless you're doing some really processor power intensive programs. And then the GPU is your graphics card. And again, more recent is better. But if you're looking for graphics cards, if the game that you want to stream, if that graphics card is, say, the minimum recommendation, try to get something that's more powerful, because you've got to keep in mind that your computer's going to have to run the game that you're wanting to play and the stream. And streaming programs can eat up a lot of computer resources, more than you might think. So if you are building a rig or something like that, that's something that you want to take into consideration for sure. So once you get your setup figured out, the next thing is to decide what you want to stream. And that can be, as we mentioned, video games. That's especially if you're looking at Twitch, that's where streaming kind of started, was with video games. You can also do talk shows. There are literally streams that are just for chatting. And if you like to talk about different topics, if I think a lot of people would want to interact with you and your personality and your interests, start up a chatting or a talk show style stream. There's also tabletop RPGs. That's the type of channel that I do, which is a lot of fun, where you essentially set up a tabletop game like D&D, Fundamental RPG, Zweihander, and any number of systems, whatever you want. You set up that campaign and you play it with your friends on stream. And there are extra setup steps to that that I would be happy to discuss later if anybody's really interested in that particular avenue. But figure out if that's what you want to do, or you can even do cooking shows. That's been really over the last, I'd say, 6 months. I've seen a lot more of that popping up on Twitch, where you can set up a camera or two or more in your kitchen and do a cooking show right there on stream. It's pretty interesting. But decide what you want to stream, and that will also help you kind of figure out what equipment that you need. Um, there are a lot of people that are what they call variety streamers who will pick one or two or all of those things I just mentioned and kind of alternate what they stream. So consider that as well. Um, there are pros and cons to doing that. Pros being that you can get in a lot of different audiences. So someone who enjoys video game streaming maybe might not like cooking shows that much, and vice versa. So you can potentially pull in audiences from both of those niches. The downside is that you are varied, so you are sort of pulling yourself in different directions. You kind of have to balance that, and you may not have the same audience every day, so it makes it a little bit harder to build up your community and your loyal following. So there definitely are pros and cons, but either are valid options and viable. You just kind of have to decide what you want to do. And then third, you want to choose a streaming space. And by that, I mean a physical space where you're going to do your job of streaming. Look at sound insulation. You want to look at the natural lighting of the room, or the ability to artificially light the room well, and the size. If it's too large, you can get echo. It's also harder. Boy, words are hard today. It is harder to adequately light a large room. So that's something to consider as well. I can show you. I've got a picture that I posted in general chat yesterday. I'll throw that into chat as well. You can see my setup here. So I am literally in a walk-in closet that I converted into a streaming booth. You don't have to have something like this. You can have just a corner of your bedroom or an office. Really anywhere, as long as it's going to be quiet. But for me, I had a bedroom remodel that our landlord did, and I converted the walk-in closet into a streaming booth. The landlord had the funniest look on his face when I told him, no, don't put up the shelves. I'm going to use that as my streaming booth. But as you can see here, I've got some sound paneling. I've got fabric on the ceiling, which helps with sound diffusion. Also covers up the air vents, which are right underneath that, which can also bring in a lot of sound. So doing little things like that, you don't have to have fancy sound foam. You can just have other things on the wall. But any little step that you can take to help get rid of echo is really helpful. The sound foam, I think all of that was around. I got it as a gift, but if you're wanting to price it, I believe that was around $20 to $25 for those panels there, and that's if you want the nice specifically for sound foam. But you can use other things. If you've got an old mattress pad that's foam, you could cut that up and use that. You can use just fabric like I have on the ceiling. It doesn't have to be anything super fancy. But you can see I've got that. I also have a lot of lighting. So I've got two lights right here. And I've got the light to the side of me to help offset that, and a ring light on my camera. This is where it's really weird. So if I were to turn off the ring light and this lamp, it would actually be harder to see me. The light would just blow out my face because it's all coming from one direction. And the two lights in front of me are very bright. So it sounds really counterintuitive, but by adding more light and evening out where it's coming from, my camera's able to adjust so I don't look so blown out. I'm still pretty bright because Discord doesn't have the same light filtering that I use on my streaming program. But But yeah, you can kind of see how it's more evenly lit than if it were all coming from one direction. And then the green screen behind me, I use this obviously to do green screen effects on my streams, so that my background is the background of the stream. And that was like $5 off of Amazon, I think. And you can see it's literally just thumbtacked to the wall behind me. It's not anything super fancy. So yeah, choosing a space is important. I like this because it's very cozy. It's very easy to control the amount of sound pollution that's coming in, and it's very easy to control the echo in the room because I only have to have a few sound panels to soak up that extra sound. The green screen also soaks up some, and the fabric on the ceiling soaks up some as well. So choosing your space is important. I saw I would not fit behind that desk. It's a bit of a squeeze. I won't lie. Once I get sat down, it's fine. But getting into the chair is a little tricky sometimes. The next thing is setting up your equipment. So you want to make sure that your camera is set up properly. So most cameras, it's not going to be too big of an issue. The one I'm using is very plug and play. It's just a USB. I plugged it into the computer, and whatever software I'm using is what takes control of it. So Discord or Zoom or OBS, etc. Other cameras will come with their own software that give you extra features, maybe help you focus the camera or change lighting effects, things like that. So you want to make sure that that's set up well. Or if you have a computer that doesn't have a lot of extra resources to spare, like my rig right now, if I had software for my camera, I probably wouldn't use it because I want to free up those resources for streaming my OBS and et cetera, et cetera. So make sure that that's set up however you like it and however it will work for your computer. And then make sure that you do have a ring light set up properly, or as I mentioned, appropriate light diffusion if you don't have a ring light. Ring lights are super, super handy because it evenly distributes the light coming out of it. So you don't end up with like one bright point right on your forehead, which can happen a lot if you don't have a ring light or something to diffuse the light so that's evenly distributed across your face. So ring lights are handy, but if you don't have one, you can see in that picture too a little bit. I've got I just bought some tulle fabric, so it's like a fine mesh fabric from I got it from the Joann's Remnant section for like $3, and I put that over my my main lights, the lights that are actually built into the wall, to help spread the light around a bit. So doing things like that, having light coming from multiple angles can help. If you're really interested in it and learning a lot about it, looking up photography guides for lighting can really help you because it's the same principle. I used to be a photographer, so that's where I pulled from for figuring out my lighting situation. But yeah, as long as you're evenly lit for the most part, you'll be fine. And then make sure your microphone is secure where it won't get bumped or knocked over. I frequently bump my mic, so this is an example of do as I say, not as I do. But having a where mine is set up is generally fine. I just talk with my hands a lot and I end up bumping it. But you can see in the picture I've got a boom stand, so the microphone is hanging just over my keyboard, and I can move it back and forth as I need to get out of the chair or reposition it or whatever. One of the things that I want to get eventually, I just haven't got around to it. They make stands that clamp onto your desk and have like a hinge arm, so it's a lot easier to move around and get to just the right position. But for now, I got this $10 boom stand, and it works just fine. So making sure your microphone is secure is good. If you have a desk-mounted mic, so one that's just on a stand or something like that, it can pick up a lot of keyboard noise. It's very easy to accidentally knock over. So I don't generally recommend that if you can avoid it. Again, a boom stand is really helpful, even if it's a cheap one. And that's what I would go with. And then finally, make sure you have comfortable seating. You're going to be in your chair a lot, and it's very easy to underestimate how much time you're going to spend in the chair and how much comfort is going to matter. I spent my first year streaming on a folding chair because I just couldn't afford a nice chair at the time. And yeah, I don't recommend that. I had plenty of streams where at the end it was painful. So definitely get yourself a nice chair. This one here that I got was I think about $80 off of Amazon, and it's been fantastic. It's supposed to be like one of the fancy gaming chairs that you see, and it's knockoff brand, but it's been great. So whatever you do, just make sure you're comfortable, and that you have proper back support, because it will make a difference in the long run. And yeah, OBS, that does mean open broadcast software. Exactly. I saw that in chat. And Streamlabs is basically OBS with a much more user-friendly GUI or graphic user interface on top of it, which we'll talk a little bit more about that in a sec. So once you have your setup done, your equipment chosen, you decide what you want to stream. You've chosen a streaming space. You've got all your equipment set up to where you want it. The next step, excuse me, is to choose a platform. And obviously Twitch is the biggest one out there. I can recommend it. I've been on there about a year and a half doing it full time. And so far the experience has been pretty good. Twitch definitely makes their mistakes, and they make some missteps. Most recently, if anybody has been following the streaming scene, they're currently dealing with DMCA, or digital. It's not digital rights management. It's a copyright thing for music. I can't remember what the acronym stands for. But basically, we've all had to scramble to make sure that we don't have anything that could potentially be copyright claimed on our streams, because Twitch kind of got slammed by the music industry, and rather than handling that in a way where they protected us, they kind of just saved their own hides and started really coming down hard on streamers. And they've admitted as such, and really tried to take steps to fix that, to their credit. But aside from that one instance where a lot of us were kind of upset about it, to be honest, generally they're pretty good. Just keep an eye out for weird things like copyright issues and things like that, and generally you're pretty great on Twitch. It's a really good community overall. The way their platform is set up to let you hit affiliate at a certain point, where you can start bringing in income and you can start doing emotes and things like that, is very easy to understand. It's very easy to get going. And yeah, overall, I've had a fantastic experience with Twitch. Other options are YouTube. YouTube has their own streaming service, which we're using right now for LTUE. And I've heard good things about it. I've never been on there, just because I had started with Twitch before YouTube streaming was really a big thing. So I don't have any firsthand experience, but I have not heard much negative from colleagues who use it. So that is definitely an option to look into. One of the nice things with YouTube streaming is that you do have, wow, my train of thought just went right out the window. You have videos already on YouTube. So if you have a YouTube channel where you're doing videos, it's easy to have everything all in one space. So that is a pro for YouTube streaming. Going back to Twitch for a moment, I will say you do have the option to export your videos directly to YouTube at the end. So technically, Twitch has exclusive rights on your VOD or video on demand, the recording of it that shows up on Twitch after you're done streaming. They do have exclusivity on that for 24 hours, but they let you export it immediately. So you can do that right after your stream, or you can set up a day of the week where you export all your streams, or you can procrastinate like me and end up with a mountain of streams to export at the end of the month. It's really whatever you want to do there. But they do have a handy export button. It's a couple of mouse clicks and it goes right over to YouTube. It's pretty cool. And then finally, there are other niche streaming areas as well. Discord has a streaming option. So, if you've built up a community that's interested in what you're doing, and you've got plenty of people there that would want to watch you, you can stream to your own community on Discord. Facebook also has a streaming service. Honestly don't know a whole lot about it because I've never had an interest. I'm already on Twitch, and that's kind of where my focus is. But I do know that that is an option, and there's a couple other smaller platforms out there as well. But just choose which one you want to focus on. And again, for my recommendation, Twitch has been great. I would definitely recommend it. And there's a lot of resources to help you get started on it as well. Once you choose your platform, next step is choosing your software. So we've mentioned OBS, we've mentioned Streamlabs. There's a lot of different programs that you can use to get what your content is, what you're streaming, out to your platform. OBS is by far the most common that you'll see. And again, that's open broadcast software. It's a free program. It's not the most user-friendly, but it's certainly not the least user-friendly either. There's tons of resources online, video tutorials that you can go through to tell you how to set everything up. I would definitely say if you can figure it all out without getting overwhelmed when you're just getting started out, regular OBS is probably the best route to go. It uses the least amount of computer resources between OBS and Streamlabs OBS. So that is a really nice feature of it. But it can be a little tricky to get add-ons put into it and get things set up. Which brings me to Streamlabs OBS, or SLOBS, or SLOBS as it commonly gets called as an acronym, which is what I currently use. I got started with that because it was much easier for me to understand at the beginning. The user interface for it is much more friendly. It's very simple to just click and drag things over, and widgets and things like that are generally a couple of mouse clicks. That's all you need to do. So I do rather enjoy it, but it is a resource hog. It uses up a lot of computer resources, which is why now, if I hadn't already put all the work into Slobs, I'd probably be using regular OBS. Just because OBS uses far more resources, and my computer is a little strapped for resources. But if you've got plenty of computing power, you're not worried about that at all. Streamlabs is pretty great. It's very easy to set up alerts. They've got a chat bot that you can download where you can set up timed messages that'll show up in chat as your bot. You can also do real easy commands where you can type in like for example, on my streams, I mentioned my link tree a lot, where people can find me, and all I have to do is go to chat and hit !LT. And as soon as I do that, it will bring up a message that throws my link out there, has a little blurb about it. It makes it really easy. You can also set up sound alerts, little GIFs that'll pop up when you get a donation or a subscription or something like that. They make it really easy. You can do all these things with other programs as well. It's just I've found that Streamlabs makes it particularly easy to put it all together in one place. There's also a program called Xsplit that a lot of people used to use. Some people still do. I didn't have a great experience with it, but other people swear by it. I don't know a whole lot about how it works right now because I used it a long time ago. But that is another option. And there are other programs out there that are designed to make things particularly easy. Stream Elements is another one that does some really interesting stuff with how it handles the information to try to take the load off of your computer. But yeah, there's plenty of resources that you can look up for that. But as from personal recommendation, OBS or Streamlabs OBS are my two favorite. Next, once you've got all that figured out, you want to choose an aesthetic. So questions that you want to ask yourself, what is your brand? So for me, my brand is Ravyn Evermore. And that is essentially the name that I've taken. And so it's a lot about me personally, like my personality, who I am, what I do is a large part of my brand. So I focus on, with my name being Ravyn, I focus on ravens, black feathers, things like that in my aesthetic. A lot of people also will do a persona. So for example, Markiplier. If you know him on YouTube, very popular YouTuber. A lot of his brand is himself, but it's also a persona. what he does on YouTube is partially a character that he plays. Um, so you can create this sort of persona that you put out there. There are people who literally will play a character completely made up character. They do a completely different name, or they'll wear a mask or a costume or things like that. There's a lot of different options that you can do. So you just have to figure out, what is my brand? Is it me as a person? Is it my own personality? Is that a persona that I'm projecting? Or is it a completely made up costumed character? Once you've chosen that, you want to look at like things like color schemes. Um, One thing that I definitely recommend looking up is the psychology of color. Um, that is something I used to do a lot of business consulting as well for marketing and branding, and I would recommend that for companies as well. Um, Definitely go look that up when you get a chance, because different colors in a logo or a website or an overlay will elicit different responses from people's subconscious. So, for example, blue is often associated with a feeling of trust or calmness. That's why Facebook uses blue. Whereas red is boldness or youthfulness, which is why you'll see that with Nintendo and Pepsi for that matter. Um, so when you start looking through the psychology of color and start looking at logos and branding from other large companies, you'll recognize really quick why they went with the colors they did. And you can emulate that with your own branding on Twitch or YouTube or wherever you're streaming. But it's important to do that early, because you want to kind of pick a brand, a color palette, and a logo, and mostly stick with that for quite a while. You don't want to change your branding up very often, because that's what people are going to associate with you. And so if that's constantly changing, it's harder for them to keep you in their mind. If your platform allows emotes such as Twitch, also start thinking about what those are going to look like. If you know that your goal and your plan is to hit affiliate, you know that's something that's going to happen, just a matter of time. Start thinking about that early. Get them designed before you even hit affiliate, so that when you do, you've got them ready to go. You can upload them and get people subscribing for those emotes right away. They don't have to be super complicated. There are tons of artists out there with commissions open for emotes that you can do. Or if you're artsy yourself, you can make them yourself. I made all of mine. Most of them are text based. So it's the font that I've chosen for my logos and brand. And then I basically just threw a color gradient on it, because a lot of my stuff is rainbow colored as my brand. My channel's extremely LGBTQ plus friendly. It's one of our big uh, uh, goals, or whatever the word is. I'm drawing a blank on the word. It's one of our focuses. That's the word I was looking for. So a lot of it is rainbow colored for that reason. So that's all I did, and that didn't take me a whole lot of time or effort in Photoshop to put that together and throw them in there. But you can also get little characters or little faces and things like that. There's a lot you can do with it. They're pretty cool. So that's something that you'll want to do, again, kind of early on. The next step is building an audience. And that's probably the hardest part about streaming. Building an audience and building a community is a bit of a challenge, especially in the beginning. So something that you want to remember are keywords are important. The keywords that you put in the tagline. So Twitch has, I think it's up to 5 keywords that you can put as tags for your stream, for that specific episode or specific stream. The ones you choose in there are really important, because that's how your stream comes up in searches quite a bit. So for me, all of my streams, well, 99%, I guess, are tabletop games. So I choose things like roleplay, dice, voice acting, because I do voices for all my characters. A lot of my fellow castmates will do voices for their characters. And then if it's a persistent campaign, that's an option in there as well. So if we're doing a full campaign, a whole season or more, we'll use that. If it's a one-shot, then there's an option for that as well. And then, of course, we'd use the LGBTQ plus tag as well, because that's a big focus of ours. But choose your keywords there carefully to best fit what you're trying to do, because that's how people are going to find you on Twitch specifically. Second, rating is important. I see so many streamers who just end their stream and that's where it ends. It just ends right there, and the audience that's been watching them just kind of filter out and go wherever. Rating has been so crucial for my networking on Twitch, getting to know people, finding other channels that I just enjoy watching. And most of the time, if you raid someone, if they get the opportunity, they will reciprocate. And for anybody that doesn't know what raiding is, at the end of a stream on Twitch, you can raid, quote unquote, another channel. And it's just a simple command in Twitch. And what it does is it takes your stream and it moves all the people that are watching over to that person's channel and their stream. And it really helps expose this other person to your community. So now they have the potential to gain followers from everybody that's been watching your stream, but also people that were watching this other person might look at you and go, "Oh, who's this that's raiding?" and go check out your channel. I've gotten a lot of followers that way, and it's a fantastic way to mutually help each other, and it really costs you nothing to do. If you raid somebody else, it takes about 5 seconds of typing, and that's pretty much it. So that's why it blows my mind when I see Twitch streamers who don't raid at the end of their stream, because you're really just kind of leaving that on the table. So rating is super important. When you do, make sure that it's somebody that's within your same genre, if you can. So if your bit is you just stream Super Mario Brothers games, rating a cooking show is probably not going to get you a lot of followers, and vice versa. So try to match the genre of the person that you're rating with your own. And the next, social media promotion is super important. Super, super, super important. Twitter is my platform of choice for social media. I spend the most time on Twitter. It's the easiest for me to network on, and it's the easiest for me to gain followers on. But that being said, others are also super important. And whatever one you are more likely to interact on, focus on that one. So I do Twitter, I do Instagram, I do Facebook, and I do TikTok. And I try to be active on all of those weekly, if not daily. So I'm on Twitter every day. I'm generally on Facebook and Instagram posting every day, because I post announcements for the shows that are starting, and I stream 7 shows a week, 5 days a week. So Friday and Saturday, I usually have two episodes per day. Excuse me. But I don't really interact on Instagram and Facebook a whole lot. They're just not for me. But I still post there. And then TikTok, I post about once a week. I essentially just grab all of the clips that viewers have made of my channel for that week, and then I turn them into TikToks, because you have the option to download those clips from Twitch, and then you can just upload them right to TikTok. You put in a caption that tells people what this is and where you can find it, and it's a great way to grab more viewers, because they'll see a clip that's really funny or really entertaining, and if they enjoy it, they might go to your Twitch channel and hit follow, and then catch you on a later stream. So social media is really important for building an audience. And then finally, networking. There are a lot of good ways and bad ways to network. So first of all, I would say make actual friends. So don't just hop into other channels and start asking for follows and hype. Make an actual friend with people that you're interacting with. When I first started trying to hit affiliate, I started streaming playing Subnautica. That's what I did before I even considered doing tabletop as a thing on Twitch. And so I rated a lot of people who played Subnautica as well. And I hung out in their chats and on their streams after I rated, and just started talking to them. I didn't say, hey, I didn't start out of the gate like, hey, I'm trying to hit affiliate. I need all the help I can get. I didn't, start talking about myself. I started talking about them, asking them questions, commenting on their playthrough. And I made actual friends, people who I still keep in contact with. who I still raid and vice versa, and who I do consider friends in terms of your online friends, your colleague friends, I guess you could say. So be genuine. Try to make friends with them. Don't just go into it looking to get something out of it. And you'll find that you get a lot more rewarding interactions than if you just go hunting for that. Also network in your niche. So I mentioned if you're, if you're a Mario Maker channel, don't go try to network with talk shows or cooking shows a lot. I mean, you can still try. There's nothing wrong with interacting with other channels, but don't focus on that. You're going to want to focus on other channels who also play Mario games or Nintendo games. Something that's at least adjacent to what you're doing. Third, hype up other channels. With Twitch in particular, it's really an amazing industry because for the most part, everybody wants to help each other out. Everybody is technically your competition, but for the most part, we don't treat each other like competition. We really try to hype up people that we see being genuine and wanting to help other people and who hype us up. So I would say you get what you give with hype on Twitch. So definitely hype up other channels. And then finally for networking, try to do collaborations. It's probably going to be a little bit harder to do that initially when you're just getting started. But try to collaborate as much as you can. That's one of the nice things about tabletop RPGs on Twitter, or not on Twitter, on Twitch, is I have to have a cast of players. And so I'll do casting calls, I'll invite people to play. And so I'm essentially collaborating with 4 to 6 people for every show. And that brings in people who are, only watching for those people initially. They'll come into my channel and also follow that. And that's how they kind of get into the community. But initially they're just there for that one person that I have on the show. And vice versa. I'll do guest spots on other people's channels and things like that. And I'll bring my own community over to that person's channel. So collaborations are fantastic. You really make some just phenomenal content that way that you can really be proud of. And it really does help both of you pull in more viewers for each other. So that's about it for networking. And then quick reminder for everyone as well. I do offer consulting services. So if you are interested in learning more about this, having some one-on-one time to really dive into the details, if you really need help getting started, that is something I offer as a service. You're more than welcome to check out my link tree. I've got links to my coffee page and places like that where you can get in touch with me, and we can set that up. And then also, if you are interested in streaming, definitely check out the same room later today at 4 p.m. We're going to do an advanced guide to streaming, where I will go into more details about, what do you do once your channel started? How do you get to affiliate? Once you hit affiliate, what then? So we'll dive into more of that side of things on the advanced one. So definitely come back at 4 if you're interested in that. And then just to do a quick review of everything that we've covered up to this point before we go on to questions. 1, start with your setup. Decide what your budget is for equipment and gear, and just get the best that you can within that. Again, you don't have to spend a fortune on a streaming rig to get started. You can do a lot with a little bit of creativity. 2, decide what you want to stream. What type of content do you want to produce and do you want to put out there? 3, choose a streaming space, somewhere that's quiet. Can't emphasize that enough. Having a quiet area is super important. Set up your equipment. Make sure that your peripherals are all synced up, configured how you want them, that everything sounds good and looks good. You've got good lighting. 5, choose a platform. Again, I really like Twitch, but YouTube has a great option as well, and there are some other smaller ones that are options also. 6, choose a software. Again, OBS or Streamlabs OBS are my top recommendations, but there are a lot of options, and some of those might work better for you than those 2 options that I recommend. So do a little bit of research on that and see which one fits your style and your equipment the best. 7, choose an aesthetic. and that's basically just a fancy way of saying figure out your brand. What is your brand? What is it you're projecting towards people? And what are you trying to market on? And that includes color schemes, logos, emotes, things like that. 8, build up your audience. Again, social media is super key for that. That's where you're going to pull in a lot of viewers, as well as through networking, which is number 9. Go make friends. Don't just try to use people, because they'll see through. Stuttering. They'll see through that a mile away, and it's just generally not cool. So go make actual friends and network with them, and you'll help each other. Definitely focus on raids at the end of your streams, because that's a great way to network and make friends. Network in your niche and hype up other channels, and try to work on collaborations with other creators, because that's a huge help as well. And I think that about covers it for the beginner's guide. I wanted to leave plenty of time open for questions. So if you have any, definitely throw those into chat, and we'll start answering some of those. Take a look here, and I've been trying to keep an eye on chat to see what was going on, what some of those questions were. My attention's a bit split. Let's see. I see the. I know I followed because of raids. Yeah. That game gives me trauma. I'm assuming that's Subnautica. Yeah, it's terrifying. It's one of my absolute favorite games. I've played it multiple times.
Okay.
But yeah, it is terrifying.
We have a question here.
Yeah,
Are you partnered?
I am not partnered, but I am an affiliate. So with how Twitch works, you've got basically just your plain old Twitch streamer. And then after, I know you've got to be streaming for at least 30 days. You have to hit at least 3 simultaneous viewers as an average for that 30-day period. And you have to stream, I think, 25 hours over that 30-day period. Don't quote me on those requirements, but it's something close to that. Once you hit that, you are affiliate. And you're going to be affiliate for a very long time. Even if you're super popular, it's really hard to hit partner. So for partner, you have to have 75 average simultaneous viewers. And that means that at any given time, on average, you've got 75 people watching your stream. So to hit that, you're going to have to get like 100 viewers in your stream most of the time. Because when you first start, when you end, on off days, you won't have 100, you won't have 75. It'll be trickling in. So it's pretty hard to hit that number. The hours streamed per 30-day period, and the number of streams that you have, like those requirements are pretty easy to hit. I'm already hitting those myself. But getting the average viewer count up that high is very difficult. It takes a lot of time. And even when you hit that, it's not quite like affiliate where you just automatically get brought in. You basically have to apply for partner. And even then, they might not give it to you, even if you're hitting all those requirements. So it is very difficult when people go on about how big of an achievement that is and how excited they are. They are not exaggerating. Hitting a partner is really hard. But the good thing is you don't have to hit partner to be successful on Twitch. As an affiliate, you can still do subscriptions. Once you hit a certain number of subscription points, which just means that you've had a certain number of subscriptions in a month, you unlock more emote slots, up to 5, I think. And you get some ad revenue. You get 50% of the revenue from subscriptions. So if somebody subscribes at tier 1 for $5, you get $250 of that. And you do keep 100% of the bits, though they do charge people 140% on the dollar for those bits. So if you receive 100 bits, that costs the viewer $1.40, which is a little steep. But you also have the option to accept donations outside of that, which is nice. Which is typically where I get the majority of my income. But you do get a lot of options as an affiliate, and it's definitely not bad at all. So yeah, that's a little bit about affiliate and partner. Any other questions? Oh, I have heard a bit about that. I think it's called like a VTuber or something like that, where yeah, you can kind of make a 2D character. Most of the ones I've seen look a lot like an anime character. Um, I've not done any of that. I know it can be kind of hard to get set up, but there's a lot of tutorials. One of my friends has done a little bit of it. Um, I haven't done anything like that, so I don't have any firsthand experience to share. But I do know it's fairly new, and there are programs that you can download that will help you set it all up. Um, but from what I've heard, it can be kind of tricky. So definitely go in with patience and expect to do a lot of research for it, is what I've been told. But unfortunately, I've never tried setting that up. And again, if you want to check out my stuff, if you want to see how I stream tabletop games and things like that, you can check out my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/RAVVYN. So it's spelled just like my name on here, just with an extra V, because it's hard to get unique usernames on Twitch. Let's see. I did see a question just pop up. Did they remove the ownership of your likeness? That's the one that scares me from what I heard in affiliate. I'm not sure actually. I hadn't even really heard that they have ownership of your likeness. I know they can make like emotes and use your content and promotional things like that. But as far as I know, they can't use your likeness outside of like that context. But I'm not an expert on that. So don't take that as legal advice for sure. But yeah, as far as I know, the concept there is that it's just in the context of promoting Twitch and Twitch content. That's a good question, but I just don't know the for sure answer on that one. Sorry. And then again, I'll throw that link out there again in chat. Linktree, just linktr.ee/the RAVVYN. That has my website, Twitter, Twitch, all that stuff on there. If you're interested in tabletop games, I do have pre-orders out for the second edition of Fundamental RPG, which is my tabletop system that you can find right there in the link I just sent out. It's ko-fi.com/Ravyn, again with 2 V's /shop. And I've got other cool stuff in there too. That's really cool to check out if you want to take a look at that. And then those programs usually require either VR gear or a fairly high quality cam. Correct, they do. I know there's some that don't require VR, but from what I've heard, they do require pretty high quality cameras, like around 4K, I think, for most of them, or 2K at least. And that's for the creating an avatar of yourself that actively talks while you're moving yourself around. Can send a link to your Twitch. Also, I'm having a hard time finding it. Yeah, no problem. So it's twitch.tv/RAVVYN. I apologize for my really loud keyboard. But that's it right there. You can also find information on that under Black Feather Guild. That's the name of the channel or the show that we do. As well as we just got picked up by the Fantasy Network, which is a really cool site for it's like a Netflix for indie fantasy and sci-fi shows and movies and streams. So you can check out there for past episodes and things like that as well. It's a really cool site. If you've ever seen The Gamers, those movies, the producer for those is the one heading up the whole thing, and it's a really cool place. So definitely check that out as well. And then all right,
thank
thanks.